Hey everybody, this is the Building a Basic Website from Scratch tutorial, and this is part 3 of 4, updating your project. So today we're going to be working with GitHub a little bit. So as an introduction, branching, committing, and making pull requests are essential parts of interacting with GitHub for a variety of reasons. As a beginner programmer, the two primary reasons you'll be using these functions are for saving progress and allowing you to interact with multiple people on the same code base. To illustrate this point a little more, I'll give you an example. So here we have a main branch of a project. Say you're making a little changes. This is your work so far. You decide to save that, or what you would be doing is essentially making a commit. So then you make some other changes, you make another commit and decide, hey, I want to pause for a moment. In the meantime, one of your coworkers wants to help you and test out some new functionality. They make a new branch called branch 1 called test functionality. Since they have access to your project or your repository online on GitHub, they'll be able to check into that main branch, and then they'll be able to make a new branch, and they'll be able to make some commits off of that. So let's say this yellow is a new commit. That is new information. So progress is good for user 1, but eventually they get pulled aside back into another one of their projects. The progress is halted, and even though it remains on the branch, it never makes it back to the main branch. So as you see, there's a dangling element there that never gets connected back to that main branch, but it does exist on its own. But if you were in production, the main branch is what would be shared with the web. The yellow would not. On the other hand, let's say you keep making changes until you eventually decide you want to change the UI. So you say, okay, why don't I make a new branch? Separation of concerns. I'm working on some different functionality. I'm going to make a new branch, and I make branch 2 UI update. That's user 2. That's you. So you make a new branch and make some commits, and you end up liking the changes. Your boss reviews those commits, reviews your branch and those changes, and you push them to GitHub, where they're eventually merged to the main branch, which again is the one that will be published. So here you see the continuation of the main branch in orange. There's now 6 commits, and 2 of those commits from that UI update are what you just added. This is in essence the fundamental path of Git flow. That being said, let's learn how to do the basics and learn the first step, branching. So a branch, as its name suggests, is a divergence from the root or main trunk of your project. When you make a branch on GitHub, you're taking a copy of the main project with you, but because it's on a separate branch, you're able to make changes independently without affecting the main source of truth until you push your updates back to the main code base. So to check out a new branch, the easiest way to make and move to a new branch is by making the following command: git checkout -b your first branch name, so that your first branch name is going to be whatever you decide to name that branch. So let's try that. And I'm going to say git checkout -b. I'm going to say branch 1. So that's it. You've just checked out to a new branch. So the next step we want to do is commit, and that is kind of a two-part process. Commit is a way of saving changes, one or many, to a label, which is a commit message, so that you can have discernible segments of progress to reference or track in the future. You may need to rebase or rearrange these pieces of progress in the future, or someone else might be curious to read what steps you made to make these changes. So whatever the reason you're making commits, they're helpful to compartmentalize your code as you make progress. So as I said, making a commit is essentially a two-part process. So the first thing we want to do is add, and we're going to use git add to do that. So we'll just jump into the code here. So before we do any committing or staging of any changes, the first thing we need to do is actually take care of the fact that there are so many changes in our source control at the moment. Because of the size of all of the changes that have been made, because of the node modules folder here, it doesn't actually need to be saved at the moment. For more information on that, check the link in the slide deck. But because there are so many changes that aren't needed because of node modules, we actually want to ignore that file. So what we're going to do is create a git ignore file. And in that git ignore file, we're going to include node modules, and that should actually ignore all those extra files that we don't need. So right now we have the basic files here. So we're doing good. That should be pretty easy to deal with now. So the next step we're going to take is doing git add. So git add will stage or prepare all the changes in the files that have been changed to be committed. Staging is like a docking bay for your changes, where they wait for any other potential changes to be added to that docking bay and eventually commit. So what we're going to do is git add dot. And you can be more specific with the files that you want to add, or you can actually just click on this plus button here, and that'll do the same as git add dot. Or if you want to add individual files, you can just add them individually like this. But we're going to do them all. So we're going to do git add dot. And as you can see here, nothing in the changes anymore, and they're all in staged changes now. So with that being said, We're going to move on to the next step, which is commit. So once those changes have been staged, we can now commit them. All right, so we're going to add a commit message here and say boilerplate or startup files created, and then hit return. And as you can see, those changes boosted off. There's no changes anymore. And we can actually see in our log, we're going to do git log, that we have our first commit there. Now that we look in our log, we can see on branch 1, startup files have been created. So that is that. We've got a commit going now. So the next step is to make a pull request. And how we're going to make a pull request, that means we're going to push the commit or any other commits we've made. Maybe you made some more commits. We're going to push them to GitHub. And how you do that is git push origin, the name of your current branch. So we're going to do git push origin branch 1. So now that we've done a git push origin, we got this response back. We're going to take a look at what we've got here. And now we can actually look at the pull request itself. Here's your test repo. And this is the pull request page here. And it's giving you a lot of different information. Now that we're at that pull request page, we can make that PR. You'll now interface with the GitHub GUI and no longer your terminal. Using the link that was generated, look for the branch you were just using. Should be a yellow box in the notification that says your branch that has recent pushes less than a minute ago. But we went straight there because we clicked the link using command and click. So be sure to command and click onto that link, and that should bring you to this page. We'll do compare pull request, and you should see your pull request there. So that's command or control on PC. And then the next stage is going to be adding a message for your pull request. So we're going to go back here and we're going to keep this pull request message, even though that's the name of the commit. That is also a valid pull request name for the moment. So we're just going to leave that. As you can see here, branch 1 is being pushed to main. So that's the merge we're looking for. These changes in this pull request, that's what we're hoping for. So provided that someone reviews them and says, oh, hey, that's good, we want to move branch 1 to main. So we're going to do create pull request. There's no conflict. And then I'm going to say merge pull request. And now branch 1 is successfully merged. So all the changes we made are now on the main branch. That is it for updating your project and getting yourself to basic stage of pushing your changes to your main branch from a remote branch. And the next stage is going to be publishing those changes. So be sure to look out for that in the next one. I'll see you there.